Glenn Beck had a complete and utter meltdown on air after Ted Cruz lost Indiana and then dropped out. So let's watch and see what he had to say.
Donald Trump is the face of the GOP. Well, that makes us crony capitalists. It makes us wafflers. It makes us pretty racist. It makes us big government guys. It just, you name it. It makes us that. Well, I'm none of those things. And so I can't say, well, these are my friends, because that's my future. I won't tolerate it. I don't want my children to look at that man and say, yeah, he's my president. I won't have that. I will not endorse it. I will not tolerate it. And I refuse to have my children think that I tolerated that. I won't tolerate it. For my children's sake, for capitalism's sake, for the Constitution's sake, for the party's sake, you have no chance of winning. First of all, let me tell you this. Donald Trump is now, 81% anti-Hispanic? The Hispanics are 81% against him?
I think it's higher amongst.
You think it's higher now? So in the 80s, okay, anti-Hispanic. Okay, Hispanics are like, I'll never vote for Donald Trump. And they're now 16%, or only 16% are left saying that they will vote for a Republican. So you've lost the Hispanic vote. When you come in and you now have the Hillary Clinton running, Hillary Clinton's going to win. Now, I say that with the caveat of I've been wrong this entire election, so maybe Donald Trump wins. But let me tell you this, one way or another, and he's not going to build the wall. And if he does, then I'll apologize to him on that day. But he's not going to build that wall. And Mexico's not going to pay for it. And if he does, I will apologize on that day. But here's what happens. Because Donald Trump is the GOP candidate, and I believe Hillary Clinton is going to win because of this, you will never elect another GOP person to high office ever again.
I loved every second of that because, in all seriousness, if you take away every time he says Trump and just put in Republican, so any elected Republican, any Republican running for that position, then what he's saying is closer to true. So that's how off Glenn Beck's meter is. Like, look at some of the stuff he says. He goes, Trump being nominated, it makes us crony capitalists, it makes us wafflers, it makes us racist, talking about Republicans. As if they weren't those things before. And actually, of all the Republicans running, who hit crony capitalism more than anybody else? Donald Trump. The other people on stage were proudly bought. And Donald was like, yeah, you're all bought. Now, understand, like I said, Trump tried to get bought by the same billionaires as the other Republicans. There was that article that we covered, and I think we're the only people who covered it, but it's a very important article because it shows he wanted to participate, but they didn't want him to participate. So then he started hitting billionaires after they didn't want to play ball with him. But either way, he used the rhetoric more than anybody else, so he was more against crony capitalism than anybody else on stage. What, Ted Cruz is against crony capitalism? Beck supported Cruz. We just covered the story. Cruz was begging for money at Wall Street when 2 days before he was ripping Wall Street and saying he'd never go to them. They're all crony capitalists. And look at him. He's, oh my God, we're racist now. We're going to lose minorities. We're going to lose minorities as a result of this. God damn it. You never had them, bitch. You never had them. Did you look at Mitt Romney's number? How many minorities he got? He's saying in 2016, that's it. We're going to get less minorities. Dude, your party has run the Southern strategy for decades. You know what the Southern strategy is? It's the idea that you appeal to old white men in the South. So, yes, that often entails being anti-minority communities. You've always run that. You've been that party for decades. He's like, we're going to lose minorities. Where have you been? Wake up! Insanity for him to say this stuff. And then also, what these guys disregard, and I went off on this yesterday because I read a stupid article about, people saying, this is great for the conservative movement with Donald Trump because now people realize what real conservatism is. As if, they don't understand that on so many issues, Trump is actually the quintessential Republican. And then on all the other issues, he's actually better than the other Republicans. So, he's the quintessential Republican on taxes. When he released his tax plan, we did a substantive breakdown of it. It's going to add trillions of dollars to the debt. As he says, he's going to balance the budget. He won't do. He's basically copying the same kinds of plans that George W. Bush had and all the other Republicans had. So he's a quintessential Republican on taxes, on wages. Remember when he said in the debate, wages, they got to be lower. Wages are too high in this country. He's the quintessential Republican half the time on foreign policy, where the other guys, the other Republicans, do unnecessary wars and kill civilians, but they speak in coded language about it. But Trump is like, no, I'm going to kill civilians on purpose. Quintessential Republican, wears it on his sleeve. On torture, quintessential Republican. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring back waterboarding. I'll bring back much worse than waterboarding. That's the Republican position, just more honest, because that's what they want to do also, and that's what they did. So he's just open about it. He said, I'm going to torture even if it doesn't work. Oh, you think that wasn't Dick Cheney's position? You think that wasn't the majority of elected Republicans' position during the middle of the Bush years? Of course it was. He's a more honest version of them. But they're like, I can't believe it. I don't like him. Look at what he's saying. He's not speaking in coded language and being racist. He's just being racist. Yeah, he's exposing what you guys actually are. And then again, on the other issues, he's actually better than them, which is why it's hilarious that Beck is like, it's over. It's over. We nominated the worst guy. Well, wait a second. He's better on trade than you guys, better on trade than your jackass boyfriend, Cruz. At least he gives the rhetoric of, let's stop with the free trade deals. Now, I don't believe him that he's going to do that. And again, he personally benefits from them, so he's definitely not going to change anything. But at least he uses the rhetoric. He's like, hey, I want to do the right thing on trade. On Social Security, he's like, I don't want to cut it. I don't want to cut it. Well, that's better than the other Republicans. On Iraq, even though he was for it at the time, that's a fact. There was audio that was released. He says I was against it. He wasn't against it. He was for it. But again, at least he hits the Iraq war today, where the other ones are just kind of quiet about it. Like, oh, I'm not going to say if I was for it or against it. Trump's like, it was stupid. It was bad. So here Beck is whining and moaning and crying like it's over for Republicans. You idiot. It was more over for Republicans if your guy got elected. I said it before, I'll say it again. Cruz is actually worse than Donald Trump. Cruz I would have much rather in a general election ran against Cruz. I can guarantee you a landslide against Cruz or Rubio or any of the other idiots. Trump makes it interesting because Trump has crossover appeal people don't know. He can get the base by saying the openly racist, xenophobic, bigoted shit, and he also gets the more moderate people and the independents by saying this stuff on trade, Social Security, you name it. So Beck, yet again, in his infinite stupidity, his election analysis breaks down immediately. Replace everything he said about Trump with Cruz, and it would probably be more true.